Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Next Generation Sports Podcast. Got the duo here today. Myself, Bradley, Kamel. What's going on? We back, man. Last two down to the last two divisions. Left it off for the East. So we'll be getting to the AFC East today. I know we go worst to first. The Dolphins finished the season last year with a 5-11 record. Jets were right after them at 7-9. Then this division had two playoff teams with the Bills at 10-6 and the Patriots at 12-4. But so let's start with where we normally start. But let's go with the Dolphins.
Yo, I literally forgot the Dolphins won 5 games.
Yeah. If you remember, kind of late, a lot of people thought that obviously that their tank job was working. They had gotten rid of a couple pieces before the season, during the season. With Tunzel last year, and then Minka Fitzpatrick during the season, and kind of that whole tank for Tua thing. And then they started winning games down the stretch. Brian Flores really kind of got that team rallied behind him, and they really started playing some good football late down the stretch. And I think most of four of their 5 wins were probably in that last 5-6 weeks of the regular season. And a lot of people were like, man, what are they doing? They're supposed to be tanking for Tua, and now they're starting to win games. And then they end up being able to win and still land the guy that everyone thought that they were going to target before the season started. Getting Tua. So yeah, man.
If you on this time last year, but when they got halfway through the season, I really wonder what was Miami doing? They traded away Tunzel. They got a lot for Tunzel. But they traded away Fitzpatrick. He didn't even want to leave until they kept talking, put him on the block. And then, of course, you got Fitzmagic. It was just a whole bunch of just random pieces. And I'm like, of course, I like Brian Flores. I'm like, all right, well, he going to be there next year? Because you know how it is. You hire somebody new, you hire the coach, and you start losing, and then sometimes you start firing people left and right. But honestly, so that last stretch going into the offseason, they did really well.
Not to mention real quick, Kenyon Drake being traded during the season to the Cardinals.
Oh, I forgot about that.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Who ended up snapping and helping me win a fantasy football league. So
but yeah, so they did, and then that you got Devontae Parker, who just came Grant. We all knew he could do this, but he just started. He was a monster down the stretch last year. And so my only question before is, can he continue that? But, to come out, you get Tua, Austin Jackson. They got Robert Hunt in the second round. Noah, the corner from Auburn. Then you get Brandon Jones. I really like that pick. He was really good at Texas, the safety out of Texas. And then we got Curtis Weaver in the 5th round, who I really like. And, they had him as a day 2 pick originally. So I thought that was good. What do you think about the free agents they got?
They went and they signed, they went and they got a cornerback. They went and they got Byron Jones from my Cowboys, and, he got paid well. And this is a team who already had Xavier Howard there, who's a really good cornerback. You bring Byron Jones, who over the past 2 seasons has solidified himself as a top 10 cornerback in the league, and then to your point, for them to draft Noah, the cornerback out of Auburn, in the 1st round as well. Now you have 3 cornerbacks, and you can tell. Listen. We got Brady in Tampa now. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. Let's go get them. And then not to mention, doing what a lot of teams who hire former New England Patriots, bringing in Kyle Van Noy to play middle linebacker. The trade for Matt Breida at running back.
That was a sneaky trade too.
It was a sneaky trade, and they gave him for a 5th round draft pick. Obviously, Like that's just a smart like value move to me. You know, Eric Flowers, who I think a lot of us would have been a name we've laughed at over the years, you know, being fans of NFC East teams. Him being somebody who played for the Giants that a lot of times might have been the reason we won games because he was so bad at tackle. You know, goes to Washington, which was a head scratcher for me because I was like, was Washington watching him at all when he played in the NFC East for them to sign him and bring him in? But you know, they move him down to guard, and you know, Bill Callahan there and everything. I think he fixed a lot of things, and he actually had a decent season. And you see him sign, I think a 3-year, $30 million contract, something like $10 million a year. Like he got a decent sized payment. I don't think any of us would have thought that would have been possible when he left the Giants, as bad as he was. I mean, he was a top 5 pick in a draft, and really was just a bust. But has, like I said, maybe found that true position that he needs to play on the interior of the line. So, like I said, I mean, overall, Shaq Lawson, they brought in a lot of people. I mean, and then we talked about Matt Breida, but they also signed Jordan Howard also at running back.
Yeah, I love this backfield tandem with Jordan Howard who can run between the tackles and
Yes,
Matt Breida.
And then the speed of Matt Breida.
Who last year he clocked the fastest person in the NFL. It was like what, like 22.6 miles per hour.
Yep.
Like that.
I know it's 22
crazy.
plus.
Yeah, so them two together, I think that paired really well with Tua. Used to having a very strong run game, and then you know, and Mike Gesicki played really well down the stretch last year too. So him coming on. Now one question I do have is that they, despite the success they had at the end of the season, they fired their OC, and so I'm wondering, and they brought back who was that? Chan Gailey.
Mm-hmm.
That is the one head scratcher for me. Is that one? So how is he paired with Tua? And does Devontae Parker and Allen Hurns continue the success they had last year with switching coaches? And to have Devontae Parker on his last year and he finally came into his own, I'm wondering about that one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. You do wonder kind of what that move is, you know, like I said, bring again Chan Gailey. Ryan Fitzpatrick spent a few years with him. So if that's you want to be the, you know, to continue to be a bridge, I know there's been some thoughts out there that they would not like Tua to have to come and start right away. So, but I mean, it's not like Fitzpatrick is like their guy going forward. But maybe they like something in Gailey's system that, you know, translates, you know, to what they feel they can bring out of Tua, and with the way they're building that defense up and Flores and what seems to be, you know, kind of a culture there right now, which is something that they really haven't had. Like I said, we'll see if they can kind of continue with how they left off at the end of last season. But I think it's going to be really interesting to see really what happens to me at that quarterback spot. Do they give it to Fitzpatrick no matter what? Do they make it a true open competition? You know, will Tua be out there early? How early do you expect to see Tua as a starter of the Dolphins?
Yeah, but I think honestly they still got a lot of picks next year too, so I think they probably buy their time and maybe do like and just let him get some time at the end of the season to get his feet wet, but they really don't have a reason to rush him into there.
I think what may work in their plan to slow burn, you know, the Tua starting is going to be the fact that they're you know, officially the NFL has canceled preseason football, which we haven't talked about on the podcast. And then that just happened today. They presented it to the NFLPA. The NFLPA has approved and agreed to no preseason games. And I think, you know, a lot of times those are games where, you know, Tua probably would have saw a quarter and a half minimum in those first 3 games. You know what I mean? Like just to kind of get him some reps and things of that nature. And if he goes out there early, lights it on fire, maybe he only plays a series or two, but then that also gets the hype rolling behind Tua with the fan base. Maybe he should start week 1 and the whole 9. But now that there is no preseason, all you're really going to have is, some clips here and there, maybe from training camp, and how much of that are you really going to have with probably no media being able to be available in that, with some of probably the the COVID protocols and all of that. So with Fitzpatrick there, does that buy them a little bit of time, to let him at least observe some games? But ultimately, obviously, they're, like I said, if they get out to a slow start, when you have somebody picked as high as he was, the fans are going to be calling for him.
Yeah, definitely, of course, just if they start losing. But I'm sitting here, I'm looking up Chan Gailey.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't been in the league since 2016. And his last stint with the Jets and the Bills happened over a 6-year span. Out of those seasons he was a coordinator, only one season did they finish in the top 10 in offense. After that, they haven't even finished in the top 20 at his offenses. So, granted, and he did have experience with Ryan Fitzpatrick. However, why?
Like you said, not a ton of success.
Yeah, and then he was at Georgia Tech, and he had Calvin Johnson at Georgia Tech. But
like I said, definitely a head scratcher. We talked about it before. It feels a lot of times that a lot of these old guys get recycled. These teams are afraid. These teams are afraid to really go new and innovative. And a team that's so offense, you have some teams that are going to say, okay, look at Sean McVay. Sean McVay had a good first couple of years. Really came out the gate, hot in St. Louis, and that gets somebody like Kingsbury hired, with the Cardinals, who had zero head coaching experience. But then you have other teams who are going to, we got a defensive-minded coach. We're going to just go try to get some old coach that is willing to kind of play into that system. So, run the ball, don't be too risky, let the defense win. We don't got to put that many points up. But it's a different league now. Offenses have to score points, especially with a lot of the rules that are on the defense where they can't, get as physical as before and things of that nature. So I like I said, it's a head scratcher. But you wonder if they're waiting something out, and not another tank year, so to speak. But like you said, they have a couple first round picks next year. Quite a few draft picks. Are they really looking to build up something long term and not looking to win right away? And maybe this is someone they have just here temporarily to them in their eyes.
I don't know why you wouldn't stay with the same coordinator.
I don't either. And I don't know, like I said, if it is a temporary thing that they're considering, why you would do that with a quarterback you just drafted in the first round. You want to use those years to really develop that position and that player. So like I said, to bring in Gailey, who's been
not in the league for 4 years.
Yeah, been gone for 4 years.
Didn't have success. And then on top of it, the coordinator was fired was a wide receiver coach from the Patriots who always had success with the receivers with the Patriots. And I think he might even went back to the Patriots. And he got the most out of Devontae Parker. But he was playing like Devontae Adams. But that's weird.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right, let's switch gears to the Jets.
The New York Jets. With how Miami is going, you know how much I love Tua. The Jets could be looking up at everybody.
They
Really
already
quick.
are.
Obviously, the Dolphins finished at the bottom, but the Jets just didn't really, to me, do enough to to build around their quarterback they did pick in the first round just a few years ago. They did draft an offensive lineman. They drafted an offensive tackle out of Louisville, Mekhi Becton, who should be a good who should be a good player. They went and they drafted a wide receiver who I really like, and Denzel Mims out of Baylor. But the problem is that you're not a Mims fan.
I was, and he started talking about Phillies. I don't like.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was talking about the town a little bit after he got drafted. I saw that clip leak. I think he was playing Call of Duty and talking a little trash about Philly and being happy he wasn't drafted there. But
he was mad we ain't pick him. That's what that was.
Hey, maybe more mad he probably wasn't drafted in the first round. But they lose Robbie Anderson, who to me over the last few years had been their only receiver. So you get Mims, but you really don't add any depth at receiver.
They brought in Brashad Perriman.
Yes, they did, but I don't.
His past 2 years, like with the Bucks and the Browns, he's had two pretty decent seasons.
Yeah, I mean, Brashad Perriman is a good player. I just don't. If he's my number 3, I'm excited. If he's one of my top 2, I don't know how excited I am at that point now. You know what I mean? 340 yards 2 years ago with the Browns, 645. Like I said, that third receiver, so to speak, in Tampa, really a fourth receiver if you're talking about Cameron Brate and the tight ends they have there. So that's decent production from that role. But like I said, in Tampa, you had Mike Evans, you had you had goodness gracious
Chris Godwin.
Chris Godwin, thank you. And then you have Brate, you have OJ Howard. Like, he's further down defensive coordinators or defensive scheme as far as threat level. You know what I mean? In that offense. So now can he go somewhere, like the Jets and be a number 1, number 2 person? Because your only other person that can argue to be at that number 1 is going to be Denzel Mims, who's a rookie, who hasn't been here. So that's my biggest thing.
I think with this, you probably live in complimentary football because you got Brashad Perriman who can take the top off the defense. Denzel Mims can too. However, he can also be a chain mover, and it's going to take time to develop as just a receiver in the NFL. Just new nuances, no preseason, and then the alternate training camp. But then you got Jamison Crowder in the slot, who out of them will probably command the most attention, but it's complementary. You got him taking off the top, and you got Jamison Crowder working in the middle. And still got to factor in Le'Veon Bell and Frank Gore for that matter. So they might switch more because they did rebuild their entire offensive line, which I did like.
Yes. Yes.
They might turn to run the ball more to help Sam Darnold out. And then, of course, they get Chris Herndon back. So they might be changing philosophy on offense now. And if you think about a couple of years ago in Miami, when they went to the playoffs with Adam Gase under the helm, they ran the ball out with Jay Ajayi that year. And I forget who their receivers were. Oh, Devontae Parker, who wasn't doing well.
Yeah, Devontae Parker and Landry? Or was he already in Cleveland?
I think they did still have Landry.
I think they had Landry still.
Yeah.
So, like you said, it seems like more of a commitment to run. As you mentioned, you bring in Le'Veon Bell last year. I don't think you really had the year that you expected. So now you're trying to really, commit to that. You bring in Frank Gore. You draft LaMichael Pirine. So, like I said, maybe they are going to kind of rely on that run game to open things up, and then maybe help Sam Darnold, with that, give him, that play action offense to run and develop and things of that nature. So we'll see. It's just not something that like I said, on paper just just jumps out at you. But Jamison Crowder has had is a decent player, especially as far as slot receivers go.
So we got to talk about the other side of the ball with the Jets.
We have to.
So I'm not going to talk about the elephant in the room. I'm talking about a different type of elephant.
Pierre Desir?
No. Well, no, it's about Quentin Williams. Because he got arrested on the airport, gun possession. You get caught with a gun in New York, you turn into Plaxico. So he did have a pretty decent rookie year, but there's still that hanging over his head. So I'm wondering how that's going to happen, how that's going to affect him and his psyche. Also, they do get C.J. Mosley back though, who was their big offseason signing last year, and he played like a half, and then tore his ACL, something like that. I don't think he played more in the game, if he did.
Right. Like you said, they get Mosley back. I mean, do you want to get to the elephant in the room now?
Why not?
I mean, well, before we do that, they did bring in Pierre Desir, from Indianapolis to at the cornerback position, who I like. He's a very solid cornerback, and I think he is going to continue to do well in kind of whatever role he is, and he'll go there and be their number one corner in New York. But in that secondary is Jamal Adams, who has been making a little bit of noise this offseason. He has verbally and so in social media has expressed his desire to be paid and to remain a Jet and for the Jets to fulfill their commitment that they promised before the season ended, which is that they would talk a contract negotiations. And up until this point, he has not received a single offer.
Hey, he did something that I have not seen in the NFL, and if I did it, it's escaped me. This dude turned the NFL into high school again. Like how high school recruits narrowed down their top five. That's exactly what he did with his destination. Like, hey, look, I want the Seahawks, I want the Niners, I want the Cowboys, the Eagles, and what was he saying?
Baltimore or somebody.
Baltimore,
it was something like that. It was something like
one of those. Y'all make y'all pick, but I'm going there.
Yeah, and it's been kind of like what week is it? Is it the Jamal Adams talk week or the Jamal Adams chill week? Some weeks it feels like they're saying anything. Then other weeks he comes out and he's like, listen, y'all still haven't even called me, sent an offer over to me. Like, if y'all aren't going to pay me, then trade me. Like, trade me. If y'all don't want me here, I won't be here. And when he's looking at McCaffrey get a deal and get paid, obviously now Myles Garrett, who's in his draft class, get paid. Mm-hmm. So who also had 2 years left on his contract, get paid. Pat Mahomes break the bank and get paid, who's in that same draft class. You can no longer sit here. There's been Jets fans saying, oh, well, we got him for 2 more years, so we don't have to talk to him. Nobody else in that draft class has gotten an extension, and no one's extending anybody this offseason, because of COVID. And it's like, you can't make these excuses anymore. Like I said, Myles Garrett just got paid the highest any defensive lineman.
And they're only 3 picks apart.
Yeah, they're only 3 picks apart. And you have some NFL executives sitting here calling Jamal Adams the second best defensive player in the league. One was recently quoted saying the only defensive player better than him in the league is Aaron Donald. He said after Aaron Donald, it's Jamal Adams. Now that's one person's opinion. It's not everybody's, but it still goes to show like this is where this player's career is on a trajectory for. Like he makes plays. And like he can come down to the box, he can get to the quarterback, he can make tackles. I think he has better coverage skills than people give him credit for. But
he can take away a tight end, like one of your premier tight ends. He can take them away.
Yes. So, like this is a guy you really don't mess around with. So to me, to tell him, hey, we're gonna talk this offseason, and just think that you can kind of get to him whenever you want to get to him. Not like, hey, here's an offer. Like, let's negotiate. If it takes a while to negotiate, that's one thing. But like, you're not even throwing anything out there. Like, hey, what does it sound like? To at least let him counter and say, no, I'm looking for this, or no, you got to come up. But when you don't do anything and you don't send even an offer out, and he's complaining the way he's complaining. Some people don't like the way he's going about it, and he has complained. But if I'm him, obviously he doesn't trust your words, and he wants the action. You can talk about how Myles Garrett has handled it, but we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. We don't know when Myles Garrett received his first offer or what kind of conversations they were having. Not just hey, we're going to talk.
Not only that, Jamal Adams really hasn't missed much time. He has never been suspended, and he's been the leader of that defense. And then on top, I want to add this, that, in Philly, when we lost Joe Douglas, who is now the Jets GM, I was wondering, like, man, that we lost a key piece, and, we might struggle moving forward, but his decisions as a GM, just like the way he's drafted and some of the decisions he made, I'm not concerned anymore.
Yeah.
Because, if you look at this draft, like, other than Mekhi Becton, who I really like, and they can get this to lose weight. Maybe not, but it's like at 340 now, but like that's really good. And, Ashton Davis, but I don't know what he been doing. He been guiding off, man. To not play. If anything you learn from Howie Roseman, you pay a player early, so they don't get too expensive for you. And you got a player like this.
Yeah, because like you said, you can spread
one
that
of the best players in the league.
One of the best.
Right. And you got 2 years left. You can negotiate that 5th-year option. It's so much you can do with that. But you have one of the premier players in the league, and you choose not to pay him. You put him on a trading block. Like, all trust is free. And maybe you drafted Ashton Davis, which is like a security plan because you have to pay Marcus May either this year or next year because he doesn't have that 5th-year option. He's a 2nd-round pick. But you don't play. You don't play with a player like this.
But you don't have to pay Marcus May before you pay Jamal Adams. No. You can let Marcus May walk and say, "All right, Ashton Davis, because we're going to keep this guy. We're going to keep the guy." Like I look at it the way San Fran recently did with DeForest Buckner. Like, they let the wrong person go. And do the Jets pay Marcus May and eventually let Jamal Adams go, trading him away? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And some Jets fans have been mad that he's gone on and said, if he's traded to one of the teams that he wants to go to, he won't necessarily force a contract extension this year. He'll give them a year. And people were upset about that. I'm like, well, you got to realize those teams haven't did him wrong yet. And if they'll win. Yeah, exactly.
They'll win.
He knows. Okay, if I go, to Dallas, to Philly, to all these teams he's named that he's mentioned, they're playoff contenders. They're people that are going to be playing in January.
Their defense changed immediately. You put any defense in the league, you put Jamal Adams back there, it changes.
Any defense in the league is changing. And listen, let me tell you this from a Cowboys fan who hasn't had a top safety in the league since Darren Woodson left. They not easy to come by and just replace. So
no.
So the Jets can go ahead and play with fire all they want. But listen, trade him. Please trade him. And y'all can send him right on to Dallas.
And unless you get honestly, and maybe this playing with fire. Maybe it's like, all right, you know what, we got a decent safety in Marcus Bay, and we can flip these picks and possibly hit here, hit there, because Minka Fitzpatrick is at least the floor for this trade. And I say at least the floor for this trade. But however, like that's not one you can replicate.
No. Like I said, I mean, this is
because if you trade him, you got to trade like at least 3 other people just to make up for it. Like for as far as draft pick compensation.
And to me, you're kind of ultimately still deciding what you're going to do at quarterback.
Hey, maybe this is a tank for Trevor situation.
Maybe. Maybe at this point, I mean, get one of those new guys. Like, I mean, it sucks for Sam Darnold. I was never a big Sam Darnold fan coming out of college. I think you know that. You know, I was heated that they were placing Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen and Josh Allen all over Lamar Jackson. And Sam Darnold, you know, he's shown some flashes, but, you know, he still has, you know, that turnover gene and the fumbling and things like that he had in college. And to his credit, he hasn't had a vast array of weapons to throw to and things like that. But it's a perfect year, really, ultimately for him, because Adam Gase is on thin ice, which was also a reason that some people said Jamal Adams didn't want to be there because he didn't get along with the head coach, and there's a lot of people in the locker room that don't, which hasn't been the first time we've heard that about Adam Gase.
Far from it. Far from it.
And, you know, he came out and said something like, I want Jamal Adams here. Of course you do. You want any good player there, but what are you doing to mend that relationship? What are you really doing to make players want to play for you? So you have a coach, to me, that, you know, I feel like his rope is getting short. And if that coach goes, unless Sam Darnold's lighting the world on fire, will Sam Darnold have the backing from the front office as well as the new coach coming in? So
if they got that number 1 pick, everybody's on the chopping block.
Oh,
except for Jamal Adams. Well, let's move on to the Pats.
Buffalo first.
The Buffalo. Oh shoot.
Yeah, pass me the division. They still had Tom Terrific.
That's right. That's right. The Patriots. Well, all right. So the Bills.
No first round pick because they traded for Stephon Diggs.
They ain't need a first round.
No, I mean they got a great first round pick there. You know, reminds me of when the Cowboys, you know, traded for Amari Cooper and gave that first round pick.
It also reminds me when the Cardinals traded for DeAndre Hopkins.
No, it doesn't, because the Cardinals did not get a first round draft pick. The Cardinals now had to give up a first round draft pick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were watching the video that you sent me today about the Vikings a new TikTok challenge to have their fans you know, mesh up a video of them catching a ball that seemed like it came from Kirk Cousins, and for one fan being wide open and having the ball go like 10 yards over his head, right? And all I could think of was Stephon Diggs the morning the news broke that Kirk Cousins was signing his 3-year extension. He was just like, all right, I'm out. Like, time for new beginnings. Like, I do not need that in my life anymore. And the Bills, you know, the Bills acted on it, and we're smart to kind of kick those tires and bring Stephon Diggs in. You know, Josh Allen has performed a lot better than, you know, I think a lot of people expected him to.
Yes, a whole lot better. I don't know, not that quick of a jump that fast.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, his first year he was what everyone said Lamar Jackson could only be. That was a running quarterback. Like, that's all he could do. Now,
his first year he looked like Tim Tebow.
his first year was crazy. Now it wasn't really all his fault. Not a lot of weapons at receiver, no offensive line, so a lot of that was running for his life. And luckily he had some wheels to him, so he kind of moved. But they bring in Beasley last year, and then they bring in a few pieces, with the draft and running back and everything, and I mean obviously a top defense, and they were able to do some things. So now to bring in a true number one receiver, in Stephon Diggs, to see what he can help do in that offense is going to be crazy. I just he's not playing inside the dome in the winter though, like he was in Minnesota. He's going to be outside. And
he's from Maryland. He's from Maryland though.
Yeah, but
it ain't Buffalo, but
Josh
he's been outside before.
Josh Allen has a strong arm. He throws a rocket. I don't know if I want to catch those balls out in the court. That's all I'm saying.
Nah, but hey, look, Michael, this is all lives, man. Like this is live all over.
Yeah, I have a high school friend who was actually on the team in Buffalo, and he was like, listen, he's already jammed a couple of my fingers already, and this was like when they were doing like rookie camps, his rookie season. He was like that. He's like that velocity he got on there. He was like, it's the real deal.
Yeah. I do want to bring light to, of course, they did rebuild that O line. They brought in Darrell Williams, which is a real good pickup from Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to address the draft. They didn't have many picks, but man, did they hit on these picks. They got AJ Epinesa out of Iowa.
In the second round.
In the second round, who was one. He was projected to go first round. He's one of the better linemen in this draft, and of course, already a stack O lineman in Oliver Ballin. You got Jerry Hughes.
Stack D-line.
I still got to say O-line, but yeah, stack D-line. So yeah, bring him in because Jerry Hughes is getting up there. And then they got Zach Moss, who that dude, he looks like a little bowling ball. He's 5'9", 230 almost, but he's like a little bowling ball. So him right behind Singletary. I think that's
Singletary,
good.
DJ Yeldon there in that backfield.
Mm-hmm. And then this next receiver, I really like him. Like he was one of my favorite. When he got drafted, I was hoping he lasted to the Eagles pick, even though we were still picking Jalen Hurts. But Gabriel Davis out of UCF.
Yeah.
He not gonna fly away from me, but this dude gets open. And he catch all that. I was watching when I can't pronounce the guy's name, but the corner from Stanford. How they come out this year, he would have been one of the top corners, and he tore him up. Okay, I think so. This could be somebody who's competing for some reps, because we do know like Minnesota used Stephon Diggs in the slot a lot, along with Adam Thielen. So he could be somebody that, like, whenever they want to kick Diggs into the slot, they can put him on the outside.
Yeah, because they're going to need somebody else to go on the outside. Because right now, I mean, Beasley is your slot guy there. So that's not somebody you're really going to want to kick out. So they have John Brown there, and like I said, if you can bring in a Gabriel Davis, to go on that other outside to maybe get some different looks, like you said, slot Stephon Diggs down to the slot. It could definitely be a help. So we'll see what happens.
I think I always go for a while. Yo, tell me what you think about them picking up Josh Norman.
You know what? I like it, and here's why I say this. I think if he'd have went to any other team as early as he signed in free agency, I would have laughed that team out the gym. Like I would have questioned it a lot more. Josh Norman has fell off. He hasn't been Josh Norman since he got in a fight with Cam Newton. Like it hasn't really been the same since that year. Like since he's left Carolina, he's not the same. He's not the same cornerback. But he's going back to the same system, in which made him the cornerback that we all knew, the one that got him his respect. Like he gets his old defensive coordinator back, who's now the head coach there in Buffalo. So that's the only reason why I like that move more for Josh Norman maybe than for the Bills. But if the Bills can get any resemblance back of that, then to me it's a win. I mean, you already have one of the top cornerbacks in the game. like like the boy White is a bad man. Like,
hey, side note, that dude is funny.
yeah,
He is hilarious.
Yeah, when he was talking
about Vontae Davis.
Oh man, when him and Shady was talking about Vontae Davis, man,
I'm done, man. I'm done.
But yeah, man. Like I said, so if they can get any resemblance out of Josh Norman of what he was in Carolina, and you're getting that same coach that had him, then like I said, it has a small bit of potential, but to me, like I said, they didn't pay terribly much for him. Like I said, it was an odd move. I laughed at first, but when I remembered, McDermott's there, his success with him, it makes sense for Josh Norman to go back to where he was able to succeed with as far as the system and the coach.
Yeah, I agree with you said. I like it more for him than the Bills because, granted, we're talking about 5 years ago, 5-6 years ago when he was
we are.
when he's playing well. But now he's 32, and like I know, once you get past 30, this body a little bit different.
Yeah, but can we blame him for bad? Can we blame him for bad years in Washington? But no.
Can't blame me. Hey, well, Washington is having a bad offseason right now.
Yeah, man. But yeah, so I mean, you got anything else on Buffalo?
Nah, man. I'm done with them.
All right. On to the Patriots. What you got?
Cam.
Exactly.
Like I say, Cam.
Yeah.
Now, I will say one thing I like about Bill Belichick. Man, I don't hate. I'm not one of these Patriot haters. I like Bill Belichick. Everything he does. It's hard to replicate what he does in the NFL. But one thing that he does that no one else can seem to do is that he can take these players who failed in one system or who had potential coming out the draft and make them play well. And so I was looking. And he picked up Bo Allen, who of course played for the Eagles and who was serviceable. He wasn't over the top. He was playing some nose tackles, so yeah, he was serviceable there. But they got Shalik Cahoon, who came out of Michigan State a couple of years ago, and who was good at Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm interested to see what they can do. And the one draft pick, they had a lot of draft picks. But the one that I really liked was Anthony Jennings out of Alabama. I like him at Alabama. So I'm really those two pieces what I would like to see what he's going to do with them.
Yeah, they got my boy Josh Uche out of Michigan. To go back and play alongside, which was a great draft pick last year, which was Chase Winovich. Yeah. So
he was a baller last year.
Listen, when he went to New England last year, I looked and I said, I think I texted everybody. I said, of course New England picks Chase. Like, of course that's where he lands. Like, he was falling in the draft, and I remember, like, I would love to get him on my team. Like, that's just someone who's you can't coach certain things and you can't grade. I think certain things, like, people want the height, people want the size, people want the speed, but like, he has a motor and a will and a desire that just doesn't stop. And it's like, of course, he lands in New England and they get that kind of character, that kind of player where, like, he's going balls to the wall, like, nonstop.
Yeah, one word I'll use to describe him is he's ferocious. Like, he's relentless.
Relentless is, I think, is probably the best way to describe him. And that's not a player you want to play like all game long. Is that person that just, no matter what, he's not taking the play off. He can give you everything he got. He got enough gas in the tank to do it. Like, you want that defensive end that, maybe 1 or 2 plays, he's trying to reserve some energy, so he gives you that little fake rush off the side. Like, no, like with Chase Winovich, you gotta bring it every play, because that's gonna be the play he blows past you because you want to take the break off, not knowing what he's gonna want to do. So, like, he's definitely relentless, and he made plays, on defense, on special teams last year for them. He's someone who's always, no matter what, seems to be around the ball. Like, he's always always by the ball, always going to be in there making a tackle. If the ball's on the ground, he's recovering a fumble. Like, he's always by the ball. So he, like I said, just one of those Belichick guys to me.
Yeah, I like this replacement pick they got in Kyle Duggar.
Yeah.
Out of Lenore Ryan.
Yeah, listen, he was one of those that senior week.
Yo, this dude, I don't know how his coverage skills are, but he fly to the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was hard to find film of him, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, for what we have, because we're not NFL scouts.
Right.
I saw this dude just he literally took somebody's helmet off. So yeah, him and it's undrafted free agent, which I haven't paid attention to a lot as far as bringing light to them. But Nick Cole out of Auburn. Auburn had this really weird defense. Like, they ran a 3-4, but then they would stand like 4-3 defensive tackles up. So Nick Cole was a 6'5", 300-pound outside linebacker. And I remember watching him. I'm like, and of course Marlon Davis too. I'm like, if they would just put their hand in the dirt, it'd be so much better. So I do think that that's somebody that Belichick would tap into. Yeah.
Now we know that this was a team that did not have a lot of money at all going against the free agency. You know, they really let Brady go. They act like they offered him something, but it was just a for show kind of offer, nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, they really didn't have the money to really compete really with him, so to speak. I mean, obviously, if they really wanted to, they could, as far as, you know, renegotiating and cutting contracts that weren't guaranteed. But, you know, it was they decided to move on. Brady was moving on. And for a while it was, you know, what are they going to do at quarterback? Cam was one of those names very early on, but as things went, it was really looking like maybe they're just going to run it with Jarrett Stidham and Brian Hoyer as their quarterbacks, and let's see what happens. But, you know, they luck up and they're able to get Cam Newton on a ridiculously low deal, and we're not going to get into all of that and how bad it is and the whole nine. But you bring Cam Newton in now. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that like some analysts on big time networks that Cam Newton might struggle with getting a starting position. That's not happening. Cam Newton's the starter. He's going to be starting. And now you get, you know, a N'Keal Harry who should be healthy, at least going into the season healthy all season. You get Mohamed Sanu, who's now going to be in the system, you know, longer than the middle of the year. Obviously, Edelman is already there. You have the running backs that they have with Sony Michel, James White. So you have some things there. You have a defense that played really well. Arguably the best cornerback one of the best cornerbacks in the league with Stephon Gilmore. So
Ryan Gilmore.
You have a lot of things there. Now you get this quarterback, MVP quarterback, with a chip on his shoulder, with everything to prove and everything to play for. Like, it's sad for the rest of the teams in the AFC East who thought Brady's gone, this is our year to win the division. and now all of a sudden, here comes Cam Newton walking in the door with a Patriots jersey on. So
yeah.
And with Israel, we talked about how they didn't have money. They actually reached a settlement in court to free up $7 million in cap space by getting money back, I think, from the signing bonus of both Aaron Hernandez and Antonio Brown from that situation. So they were able to free up another $7 million. I think they only had like $1 or $2 million left on the cap space right now. So that kind of gives them a little bit of stuff to play with if they actually want to go out and bring anybody else in, which surprised me. There are some players out there, you know, to be had. You know, whether that's a trade to go get a tight end like Njoku, or to bring in one of these DNs on a 1-year contract like a Everson Griffin or Jadeveon Clowney. Like now you have some money to kind of mess around and play with if you want to kick the tires on some of these people who are still out there.
Yeah. Also, as far as freeing up cap space, there is rumors. I think it's still unlikely about them trading Joe Thuney, who's on the franchise tag, and so he's eating about $14 million of the cap space right now. So if they can somehow facilitate a trade, that's $14 million of cap space to go along with that 7.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't reach an extension, so they can't talk any more extensions at this point until the offseason. But man, that would be a big loss on the offensive line, though, man, to trade him.
Yeah. Now I will say they do got I'm gonna start practicing names, but Yadni Kajusta. I don't know how to say it, but I do remember him from last draft. He's out of West Virginia, and I think he has a lot of potential, and they arguably have the best offensive line coach in the league. I will say that because granted, if you look at the starting offensive line for the Patriots, only one of them was drafted day one.
Yeah, Isaiah Wynn.
Mm-hmm. And he hadn't always played. Even in battling injuries. So they get a lot of the offensive line.
They do. So like I said, I mean, they weren't able to do a lot, but to me, just getting Cam was to come in and replace Brady was definitely a win. So I want to ask you, who do you think won the offseason?
The Dolphins. It's because of the volume and the value. I can't argue anybody else.
All right. I'm going with the Patriots. Dolphins, great choice, but to me, when you have a team that's always been, at that in the AFC Championship game, or 14 of the last 16 years, and how many Super Bowls we know that they've been to in the last decade, you lose, greatest quarterback of all time in free agency, and your back is against the wall, and you're able to get an MVP quarterback for $1 million to come play for you. You win. I don't care what else happened during the offseason. And I know people are going to hate that because it's the Patriots. People are tired of winning and the whole nine. But you just can't argue being able to pay that type of quarterback that much money. Like it's
you go out, you lose. You lose the best quarterback of all time. And you go out and you get the best bonnet of all time.
Yeah. Oh man, listen, that's gonna be one to watch as well. Like watching Cam get on all them outfits, like on the Patriots playing. Like,
hey, it's cold in New England, so you gonna have a lot of clothes.
Man, listen, but the colder it is, the more you can dress. So Cam really gonna have the outfits. But I think a lot of people wonder about how that dynamic is gonna work with him and Belichick. I think at the end of the day, Belichick wants to win, and Cam wants to win. Cam has always been driven. He's always been one of the hardest working people in whatever room you put him in. He has a high level football IQ, so he's going to be able to get along. I feel like in that culture because they both want to win. And even Brady had his pushbacks with whatever offensive coordinator was there, whether it was Bill O'Brien, whether it's been Josh McDaniels and things like that. Now, obviously, we know when he does it, they call it passion. When African-American quarterback, black quarterback does it, they want to, or a receiver or anybody else, they want to act like it's detrimental to the team. And so you're gonna see some of that this year, but just know it's no different than when Brady was doing it. And it's people want to win, and people want to get the best results at the end of the day. And I think ultimately, Belichick is gonna love that. Whether or not Cam is back next year, he's gonna love the effort that Cam is putting into this season, and I don't think they're going to have a big issue at all.
So the Bills winning the division.
Are the Bills winning the division?
They are. I'm telling you.
No, they're not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The Bills was winning the division up until about 2 weeks ago. Listen. They got to. They got to go out and do it. They got to go out and do it. They got to show me that this didn't deflate any air at their top, because I know once Brady went to Tampa Bay, they were feeling good about themselves. Oh, the East is ours now. We ain't got to worry about nobody else in the East. Brady's gone. We got to worry about Stidham. We got to worry about, or like they weren't. They were probably smelling themselves. And now Cam comes in, and it changes things. It changes things. And now, listen, if they don't win a division this year, it's going to be very hard for them to do it in any year in the future. Because if you can't beat the Patriots in New England this year with no fans, they're never going to beat them.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I'm saying this is one of the reasons why I picked this. There is no receiver on the Patriots that Tre'Davious White can't take away. And the Bills are really good at stopping the run.
I'll ask you this question. Though. We just talked about Josh Norman earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, they're starting cornerback on the other side. If he's the Josh Norman he has been the past couple of years in Washington, Tre'Davious White can take away whatever receiver he wants. It won't matter.
Well, I'm saying Norman, like most tall corners, who struggle with smaller receivers. So White takes away Elderman. Then you got them with Harry and Muhammad Sanu, two taller receivers. So, and who really aren't that much faster than, N'Keal Harry is. So that one I want lean on some experience. But so I say it for that reason was why the Bills win the division.
We'll see, man. I'm definitely sticking with the Patriots here. I'm definitely not pulling for Cam also, which is part of it. But also, like, I feel like you have to beat a team in order to show me you're willing to take that next step. And it'd be a lot different, like I said, if they were throwing out some young quarterback who's never had a starting snap. But they're not. They're getting an MVP quarterback. They're getting one with not just a chip, a boulder on his shoulder. And I think that's going to be enough to elevate New England to remain the division champs.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm pretty sure we can agree that the Jets gonna finish last.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't want to rush off, but my battery's about to die on this, and so I don't want to.
No.
Cut off
like I think Jets will be in the basement. We'll be breaking their offseason down first next year when we do this. The jury is out whether or not we will ever talk Jamal Adams and the Jets uni ever again. We will see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Tua is going to come in and light the world on fire. I've already said Tua is the best quarterback in this draft class, and I will repeat that.
I echo that.
Well, signing out. Back next week to wrap up the NFC East. Catch y'all later.
All right.